Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we've actually got kind of an abundance of news. We've got our game modes for the year confirmed, our schedule for the year, new point system, some new things coming to the CDL this year, as well as some MW3 news. So pretty chocked full of news. And that's basically what we're going to be covering today. And then in just a few short days, Thursday night at pretty much 11 o'clock our local time, or roughly midnight, the game releases. It'll probably be broken on the first night, like every game always is. The servers will be broken, but hey, it's technically going to be out by the end of this week. So closer than ever, and can't wait for that. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Last episode of the year when the new game is still not out. So excited for that. We won't technically have like CDL matches to talk about for the next few weeks. It's about a month away, but at least the game will be out so we can kind of talk thoughts in the game, maybe watch like kickoff tournaments and talk about those. But something to talk about finally that actually has to do with the new game being played. So excited for all that. Let's just jump right into this one. Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good for this, fine Monday in Wisconsin. It was actually warm, like 60 out. Surprisingly.
I bet you this is going to be the warmest day we record a podcast for probably the next 5 months.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not going to be 60 again for a long time.
Yeah, so that was definitely surprising, but overall good day. Not fan of, getting dark earlier, but hey, got some COD to play, I guess. A little short week, less than a week.
I'm on my drive home at 4:45, and I can already see like the sun is setting. It's not a fun time.
Yep.
But we actually have a decent amount of news to cover today. Some exciting stuff. We kind of have a rough layout of what our year is going to look like. Not necessarily like super happy with the schedule, but some positive changes were made in terms of like point system for this year. They did. Granted, it's not a ton of a difference. There is certainly some difference for like the higher placing teams. But there is at least some difference, and LAN is weighted a little more heavily, which we've all wanted basically forever. LAN matches should always matter more than online. So good to see, but we'll jump into all that. There's a lot to talk about. A majority of this podcast is probably going to be covering this schedule. So the general schedule, except really champs, was all confirmed. We'll just go through it quick. Major 1 is in Boston with qualifiers from December 8th to January 21st, and the tournament is that following weekend from January 25th to the 28th. So we talked about this one a little bit, but interesting choice, Brock. Boston for Major 1 in January. And we have the right to say that because we're not like people from the South or from a warmer spot in the U.S. We're from a cold spot in the U.S. And I think even both of us would say interesting choice to put a tournament in one of these cold weather states in December and January, because people that aren't from the area, they are going to have a rude awakening when they land in Boston in January.
Yeah, Boston in January, 0 degrees.
Yeah, if they're lucky.
Yeah. Interesting, but hey, what can you do about it, I guess?
Well, and especially interesting, like following last year where that was Major 1 or like an early one, and like New York barely got to the event, and like just like I think like Scump and Methods and like the watch party or whoever, whatever major that was, they like had to stay home because like they couldn't get there in time. Like interesting to put it there after you had so many issues last year.
Yeah, definitely. Could be a blizzard like last time. Could fluctuate, mess up everyone's schedule and delays.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yep.
All right, then Major 2. Also, I forgot to mention the qualifiers for this one are like super, super long. December 8th all the way to like almost the end of January and January 21st. And I think that's probably because they're taking like some sort of break for the holidays for like Christmas, New Year's. Which is why that one's probably a little extended.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the 7 matches. Qualifiers are going to be like a little bit longer because I'm assuming they're adding like a week. I saw like 2 of the major I think it's like Major 1 and Major 4 are like 4 weeks long or whatever. I mean, I can look at these dates, and then like 2 of them are 5 weeks long. So interesting there. Then Major 2 is in Miami. Now that's a much better destination. As somebody who lives in a cold weather state, Miami in February and March is a nice destination because up here in the northern part of the U.S., February and March still very cold months.
Yep.
So Miami, perfect spot for the qualifiers. The qualifiers are February 16th to March 17th, and the tournament's the 21st to the 24th of March. So a little bit of a gap in there. tournament. Major 1 ends the 28th of January, and we don't see any more matches until February 16th. But a better location, in my opinion, for this one, Miami, just because, like we said, it's going to be cold in a lot of other parts of the U.S., so at least Miami should be pretty warm.
Yep. We can always count on Miami being warm.
Yeah. And then Major 3, Toronto. Seems like a yearly theme at this point. That's 3 years in a row now.
Yep.
They've gone to Toronto, which I'm not complaining. Toronto seems like an amazing city. I would love to get to an event there. Maybe a little bit better dates. I don't know. I know Toronto obviously gets very cold, kind of like us, but the qualifier is from April 12th to May 12th, and then tournament from May 16th to the 19th, which for us, May isn't like the absolute warmest month, but honestly, the weather's usually perfect here. It's usually like 70. So Toronto, I would think, should be pretty good in May. That would be an event that I would love to go to. May in Toronto seems like it would be fantastic time, but that's Major 3.
Yep.
And then Major 4, new location for us in Charlotte. I mean, they had the Raleigh like Pro-Am, was it last year?
Yes, the Pro-Am.
Yeah. And then Major 4 this year is in Charlotte. The Royal Ravens hosting an event, online qualifiers from May 24th to June 12th, with the tourney from June 20th to the 23rd. And then champs rumored to be like July 11th to the 14th, that weekend in July in Dallas, probably hosted by OpTic, if that's the case.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Hopefully that is true, you know. Maybe you'd like to go to that one. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to go to. Texas. Better for us also because probably a cheaper trip for us if we decide to go to champs again and head down to Dallas. Probably cheaper than like LA, like they like to go, and certainly cheaper than Vegas. That was my first time in Vegas for champs last year, and let me tell you, that's got to be like the most expensive city ever.
Oh yeah,
you can't do anything cheap.
Nope, you just gotta pay for it.
Yeah, you want a dinner, unless you're going to like McDonald's, you're paying a lot for that dinner. Obviously casinos are you're probably gonna lose a lot of money there. It's pretty hard to win money at a casino, especially in Vegas. Just an expensive city, so I'm glad to see it in Dallas. I've never been to Texas, so if I end up going to champs this year, I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, same. Have not been to Texas.
But yeah, that's the schedule. It's a little bit disheartening in some ways because we do start in early December at least. We don't have to wait too long from the game's release, but then we're wrapped up by like early July, mid-July. So that means the off season once again will be from mid-July all the way until probably December.
A long time.
So another like 5-month long off season for no reason.
Yep. No reason, you know. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
I thought this was like a general take that everybody's like the off season's too long. But then I was listening to like a little bit of the flank, and I heard like Ache saying like this is just too long. Like we need to, like, compared to regular sports, like why do we have a longer off season than a lot of them? Like they need the recovery time. In esports, you don't really need it. And like Ben was like, well, that's a terrible comparison. And I was like, it's not a terrible comparison because like that's the point of an off season in traditional sports, is that like think of a sport like especially for our American listeners, football. It's a brutally physical sport where they play from like early September until the final game is in February, and a lot of teams are done obviously before that because it's the Super Bowl in early February. So they play for like 5-ish months, and some of them are only playing for like 4. To have like a 6-7 month off season. But that makes sense because that is a brutally physical sport that takes a toll on your body, so you need time to recover.
Yep.
It's not a newsflash to anyone, but Call of Duty not nearly as physical as football.
Nope.
You don't really require like recovery time. Sure, it's mentally draining and a lot of time, and you wouldn't want to put all that time of your life for 12 months a year and have a no break. But like a season from December until late September wouldn't hurt. If you're going early December to late September, you still would get like all of October off. Like you'd have like a 1 month off season to the game and a 2 until the tournaments. Or even if you did to like early September, you could have the rest of September off. Like champs first weekend of September, you have the rest of September off, October off. So you get a 2 month off season from the game and a 3 month from the actual season to December. That would make way more sense than this 5 month off season that we have now.
Yeah. I would love to see that change go through in the near future.
I honestly think at this point it might be a money thing. I think the CDL is just trying to save so much money because like they're already hosting all online qualifiers, which saves them a ton of money in terms of operation costs. And then they're cutting the majors down to 4 So they have one less tournament to run, and then they're cutting the season way short, so they have just less lands they have to play. It just seems like a money thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now you say that, it does seem like a saving money wherever they can.
Yeah. Some other news for the schedule, though, more positive news. Well, first, people had a big scare because the website, like it seems to do every year, like looked like they were trying to say that only the top 8 teams are going to go to each LAN, but apparently it was just like a mistake, and it means that the top 8 are going to go to winners bracket.
Yep.
And then the bottom 4 are going to go to losers, but they seem to scare us with this every year. And some years it's been like legit where they're like, nope, only the top 8 teams and qualifiers are going to the LAN. I don't know how they seem to screw this up every year, but nobody wants that. We want all teams at all tournaments.
Yep.
Like I mentioned earlier, the 7 qualifiers per major instead of 5 this year. And here's the big thing, Brock. The online qualifiers are still worth 10 CDL points, but LAN points have increased. So going to go over those quick, and then we'll get your thoughts on them. So 9 through 12th, if you're basically eliminated, lose round 1, don't win a match, you still get 0. 7/8th, you get 15 points, which is up from it was 10 last year. So obviously that means that you won 1 match. You get 5 extra points over the typical online qualifier. If you get 5th/6th, so top 6, you get 30 points, up from 20 last year. So 10 more points for getting that. 4th place gets you 45, which is up from 30 last year. 3rd place gets you 60 points when it only got you 40 last year. 2nd gets you 75 and it only got you 50 last year. And then 1st gets you 100 points and it only got you 65 last year. So basically you get like an extra 5 points each step of the ladder, except a little bit extra for 1st. So overall, the higher you get, like the more of a difference you get from last year. So the LAN points have gone up, which is a good thing because if you're a team that consistently performs on LAN but struggles online, I feel like you should get more weight because typically, as we always say, LAN is, the more legit measure of who's the better team. So I feel like teams that perform highly on LAN, like there's one team that like is going 5-2 in every online qualifier but getting top 8s, and then another team that's going, I don't know, 3-4 in every online qualifier but getting consistent top 4s. I feel like the top 4 team on LAN should be the team going to champs, not the team that consistently just wins online.
Yeah, I do like that. The point bump, because some teams are just, they don't want to deal with the online with the connections, from like Florida to like Chicago or all the way to Vegas. It's definitely a jump in like ping.
And like the more they wait LAN, the more I like it also because like teams want to have these home bases where like Miami wants their players in Miami, but as we've heard a lot of times, like the connection there struggles sometimes. So online is tougher. We've obviously seen the thing with like LA Thieves before where they want their players out there for content, but then seem to struggle a little bit more online because it's harder to play from LA. Connection's not as good. The more and more they can increase LAN significance, the more you can maybe have these players at home bases, which can, maybe lead to them making more content, which is something that's needed for the CDL. It's kind of where my mind goes. But also at the same time, you can't completely make online worthless because it's just people aren't going to watch it if it's worth nothing. I mean, your diehard fans are still going to watch because they enjoy watching, but there has to be something to play for in the online matches at the end of the day. You can't just make it useless.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like this would be like a good like the good teams, compared to like a fluke team, doing good online, getting all those points and then going to LAN and bottoming out.
And we might see some more separation this year also because like teams like Faze, I'm going to guess Faze is still probably going to do very good online. If there's 7 qualifiers, I'm thinking Faze is probably pretty much every time going to win 5+. I mean, at a bare minimum, they're probably going to win 4 each qualifier, probably 5, sometimes potentially 6+ other times. Like they're going to be pretty consistently high up there, so they're going to have some of the most online points, but I'm going to guess they're also probably going to be pretty consistently finishing like 3rd or higher on LAN at the very least. So we might see some bigger point differentials because there's going to be teams in the bottom that are going to struggle online and on LAN and just not get a lot of points. But then there's going to be your phases that are going to consistently win online and also get a lot of top 3s on LAN. So the point differential might be even wider for those top teams to bottom teams this year.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to see, but I like the point bump from LAN to
That's the only scary thing. I guess it could go both ways, though. You could say, like, there's going to be a wider gap, so we might have less contenders, but also, like, with the extra points that you get for LAN, it could maybe keep teams alive longer as well. instead of the 65 points for winning last year. They could get 100 for winning, and maybe it keeps them alive a little longer.
Yeah, definitely.
And it goes both ways.
Yep, excited for that.
Yeah. Then the game modes for this year are confirmed. Some people were surprised. I wasn't necessarily all that surprised for it. Hardpoint, search, and control, what we've had for quite some time. Pretty much every year since that second year of the CDL. Obviously in MW19 we saw domination, weird, but since then we've seen hardpoint, search, and control. Some people were really surprised to see no CTF. I mean, I guess I would have not minded to see CTF, but I don't think it's in the game on launch, so it shouldn't be like a shock to anyone that control is the third game mode, because I feel like CTF would really have been the only contender to replace it.
Yeah, because they put CTF back in the actual MW2.
Yeah, I wasn't watching at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was like demo, search, and CTF. Maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how hardpoint and control plays on a game that didn't have it before.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we feel pretty confident that S&D, especially with like the dead silence being permanent and everything, is probably gonna be pretty good in this game, or has a good chance to be good. But like you said, normally we like know hardpoint. You can always find a way to make it work, which I think we're gonna find a way to make hardpoint work. But like you said, hardpoint control were never on these maps because the original MW2 did not have either game mode. So it could get very interesting to see how they work, because they have to make completely new hardpoint spawns to these maps. Like normally if we had remasters, we would know, like when they remastered Black Ops 2 maps and put them into Cold War, we knew like, oh, hardpoint plays well on this map and this map.
Yep.
Just depending on how the movement speed changes it. But on these, we're like, I have no idea, because I don't know what a rotation on high rise looks like, because we have never played hardpoint on it before.
Yeah, so that I'm excited for it, but at the same time, maybe the spawns will be all fudged up in that.
Yeah. Hopefully the spawns are fixed from the beta, because they were pretty messed up.
Yeah, or if they aren't fixed off launch, they get in there and fix them quick.
Yeah, which with what they've been doing so far, I have more faith and more hope that they will fix issues. Sledgehammer, that is, because so far in responsiveness to like the beta and the community as we lead up to the game, they've been very good in comparison to a lot of years. So we just can only hope that continues. Now, normally when a developer is being this responsible before the game, you'd be like, absolutely, they're going to do it. But just with the past of Call of Duty, we can never be so sure until we like actually see them do it.
Yeah, can never, fully 100% believe them.
No. But yeah, I'm not upset with the game modes. I would have liked to see CTF just because we know on these maps that have played well in the past, but it seems a little weird they don't have it in the game off launch again from what I saw.
Would
Kind
it be
of
nice?
spinning. What were you gonna say?
I said it'd be nice, like a little shake up, and then just seeing control every time for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a weird spot, because like I'm happy it's control, because like the alternative, probably most likely, since CTF isn't in the game, would be domination, and 100 times out of 100 I'd rather play control than domination.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like a really well balanced and good CTF is, in my opinion, a much better game mode than control. Because like I liked playing control in Black Ops 4. I thought it was super fun, but objectively speaking, like if you could give me the best control you've ever seen, which is probably Black Ops 4, versus the best CTF we've ever seen, which I guess I wouldn't know which one it technically is. I would assume like a Black Ops 2 or one of the MW like 2 or 3s, but I would think that the best CTF game in general is probably better than the best control game we've seen.
Yeah, probably Black Ops 3 CTF.
Yeah, it was kind of fluky with wall running though, so a lot of people probably wouldn't
like that. Yeah,
that's probably my favorite one I've played, because I didn't play as much of the early ones. But definitely a little bit more fluky. People didn't like the wall runs that you could just get lost, which is fair.
Or maybe they don't have it off launch, but they added it in like the first month or two of the game, and maybe CDL puts it in with an add-on to the.
I wish. It just seems so hard for them to add a full-on game mode.
Yeah.
Mid-year, I would love, and it's a good idea, and I would love to do it, but it just would be, I think, really tough on them to add it. But I think control is the best we can get, because we're never gonna get like that gridiron game mode as much as I would love it. Because uplink is the best third game mode ever. It's just obviously not possible without jetpacks.
Yeah. So control is just a safe bet.
Yeah. they tried the gridiron thing in World War II for a little bit, like tried to play it, but it just apparently didn't work, which I can kind of see why, because the whole point of it was like a lot of like 1-point spots and throws and like hitting wall runs to make a throw or jump spots to make a throw, and obviously doesn't really happen when you are stuck with your boots on the ground.
Yeah. It was definitely fun to play though, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Spinning back to that schedule that we talked about, one more thing to mention on that. The full qualifier schedule is up on the website. We're obviously not going to go through and talk about every match because there's just a billion of them. But when you go through it all, like, I don't know, I saw a screenshot of day one. Day one, some bangers. Some makes me excited for December 8th. I got Boston versus Faze, Slasher playing his old team, and an exciting one because we get to see new look Faze, see if they look like they could be the number one team again, like a lot of people think they could be. And I'm excited to watch the Boston roster because I think outside of our top four, they're one of the teams that a lot of people believe potentially could make some noise for a team that's not one of the top four.
Yeah.
Then we get LAT versus Seattle, another exciting one because two teams that maybe people aren't as high on, but two more teams that I think could have potential to be like those teams that slot in like 5 through 8 or 9 that have some upset potential. So excited to see those two. And then banger of the day ends with OpTic versus NYSL, rematch of that champs match where OpTic really thought they had it won, and then they blew that Zarqwa hardpoint to get eliminated 3-2. They thought they were, or 3-1, thought they were going to force them at 5. But they blew that. We get to see NYSL adding in Sib and this new OpTic roster. That's probably the best match of the day.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm excited to see how Snoopy plays on Boston.
Yeah. Snoopy and Capsule subduo, see if they can hang around with Simp and Abezy. It's quite a test for your first match.
Yeah, I'm also excited to see Joe DeCease on the Los Angeles Thieves.
Yeah. It's just like, it's really good matches because it's like we get to see like our Goliath go against like our team that we believe could be the best team outside of the clear top 4. Or what we think are the clear top 4 on paper. Then we get to see two of those teams that we think are going to slot in the middle, see what they look like, and then we get to see two of the juggernauts. So it's like a good mix of everything. We don't really have any of the teams we believe are going to be like bottom playing good teams.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Kind of jumping into some other esports news before we head back to like MW3 news. 100 Thieves announced that they're spinning off Juvie, their like energy drink, and their game development studio that they had to become independent companies so that they can focus more on esports content and apparel. In terms of like news-wise, for me, this is kind of exciting because like I'm not really like much of an energy drink person, so Juvie like isn't like a really meaningful brand to me. And the game development studio also kind of like to me personally more whatever, but the independent company thing for them to focus more on esports content and apparel, which is the stuff I'm interested in, their esports teams, their content, their apparel. Seems like a positive, but also a very big negative because I think it said that they cut like 20% of their employee base, which obviously sucks to hear. Seems like we talk about this every other podcast, some esports organization cutting a ton of employees, and it's a scary world out there, a scary time to try to get a job in esports. So sucks for those. I mean, 20% is a significant amount of people that are out of jobs.
Yeah, it seems to be the topic every other week for us.
Yeah, which is not what we want. We want to hear a 20% increase in employees being hired by an esports company, not the decrease.
Yeah, definitely want that.
So sucks for anyone that lost their job. We're sorry. We hate to hear it. It's scary out there if you're a person working in esports.
Yep.
All right. Back to more, well, I guess maybe not back to more positive things. Let's cover this first because it doesn't affect me much, and I know it doesn't affect you much, but it's an interesting debate that's going on in the timeline. But apparently the MW3 campaign sucked. People got like early access to it this week, like if you pre-ordered whatever version, I think on like PlayStation maybe, but apparently it's very short. It only takes like 3 hours to complete, and it's just not good at all. So like Courage has been talking about this for a long time, but he was tweeting about how they should just like cut the campaign from the game and use those people and those resources to funnel it into multiplayer in Warzone. And like, while the thought I believe is good, I don't know much about it, so I could be wrong, but I just don't think that the team, I think they hire like an independent studio to work on campaign like Raven or whoever. So like, I just don't know, especially if they only had a 3.5 hour campaign. I don't know how much that team would even work on multiplayer. I think if they cut that team, they would probably just cut them and save the money. I don't think that they would like assign those people to multiplayer. So it seems like it's a little bit of an irrelevant debate just because like I don't think if they cut campaign, those people would immediately go into multiplayer. I think they might just be like washed from the game. But what, like I said, I don't know a ton about it, so I could be completely wrong. But it seems like an irrelevant debate. But I get the thought process that Courage has.
Yeah, I do also get what Courage is saying, but I feel like there's a lot of fan base for the campaign.
I think there is too. Like I've never been. There are some single player games I like. Like a lot of people know one of my favorite games of all time is the Borderlands series. Like there are certain single player games I like. I don't think I've ever played a Call of Duty campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That's simply because like I played all the. I really like the Halo campaigns when I was a kid. I played all those. They have, I mean, in my opinion, a lot better story than the COD campaigns. Um, but then I just like never. I played like a little bit of like the Black Ops 3 campaign, I think, and I feel like I remember people saying that's like the worst campaign ever.
Yeah.
But I have no idea. I think like they didn't put a campaign in Black Ops 4, I don't think. They like cut it out of that game and a lot of people complained. So I mean maybe there is a fan base, but I don't know. If it was me and I'm a huge fan of campaign, I would almost be offended like you put this garbage out if it's as bad as people say it is, only 3 hours long. Like if campaign's my thing, I'd almost rather have you just like not release a campaign than like get me hyped, make me pay for the whole game just to release that. Because there are truly some people out there that just they might just get Call of Duty for the campaign and they're not really going to touch multiplayer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if I'm one of those people and I pay $70 or whatever to get the MW3 campaign and I have 3 hours of playtime, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah, I'll be asking for that, get that refund.
Yeah, I'd be like, well, I only get 3 hours of game time. That's the only thing I buy Call of Duty for. So like, if I was those people, I mean, at that point, I would almost rather have them cut it than waste my $70 in the game.
Yeah, because at that point, 3 hours is just not worth it.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, when I play a story game, like I like for Borderlands, I like to do all the side quests and like have the game be as long as possible because like if I'm playing the story, like the story mode of a game or like a specific like single player only like campaign type game, I want it to be long, like a big robust story, long gameplay. Like I don't want it to just be over when I sit down for one night on the game and just be done with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know, weird situation, but yeah, I feel for the people that are big campaign people because like there are certain story mode and like single player games that I really enjoy playing. So if that was like your thing, you got excited to sit down and play the COD campaign because you've been playing it for years, and you sat down at 6 p.m. one night and finished it by 9. I feel sorry for you because that does sound like it sucks.
Yeah. Man. Oh man. Oh man.
Interesting choices from Call of Duty yet again.
Not
all right,
shocked.
on to multiplayer stuff. Apparently, there's 114 weapons in MW3 off launch. So 37 of them are the new ones, which are the ones that I will be using. And then 77 are from MW2. And I thought this was kind of just going to be like a Warzone thing. Like how they've done in the past. Like there's multiple like games, guns are in Warzone, but it sounds like it's multiplayer. So like the TAC and Vaz never going to be in there. If they're meta, I'm refusing to use them. I will not touch them. I wonder if they're just going to ban all the MW2 guns anyways in ranked, like in the CDL.
They definitely should.
But 114 new weapons. I plan to touch not a single one of the MW2 weapons. I only want to use the new ones because I'm assuming the mastery camos, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are separate. Like I think for the 37 new weapons, I'm assuming like there's a separate mastery camo for those, and MW2 maybe has a different one. But interesting choice, I guess. The lack of or the amount of content, I guess, is cool if they're in multiplayer, but also like kind of overwhelming. 114 weapons in the game off launch seems like a ridiculous amount. Maybe good for Warzone, but doesn't sound great for multiplayer.
Yeah, 114 weapons and about 50 attachments per weapon.
Yeah, probably something like that. Unfortunately,
yeah, too much.
37 new weapons though seems like decent because like if you think, I don't have the list. I mean, now I know they did like release a list, but if you think like maybe 6 or 7 ARs, SMGs, gets you to like 12 to 14 guns, maybe another 5 LMGs to 19, 4 or 5 marksman rifles gets you to 24, 4 or 5 snipers, 29, a couple melees gets you into 30s, few pistols and shotguns, something around there gets you to about 37 new weapons. So it seems like it'll be a good size for weapon classes, 6 or 7 for the primaries maybe, and then 4 or 5 for secondaries. So it seems like it could be a decent, I forgot launchers too, but it seems like it could be a decent little grind for the mastery camos, which we can talk about now, Brock. Some pretty good looking camos for what we've seen in some recent years.
I would take it. Very bright.
Yeah, which I don't know. Some people, I guess, like more realistic camos, but for me, I always think that like bright, bold, super like flashy camos. Like I want the camos to look really cool. Like I want them to be extremely vibrant, colorful. Like I don't want them to look like a realistic standard like hunting camo that you see in real life.
Yeah.
Like like I want them to be vibrant, bright colors, pink, purple, blue, orange. Give me all the bright neon colors and like cool patterns and
Yep.
reactive camos, which Interstellar, the final MW3 mastery camo after like the gold and then like the diamond and other ones they have is like a space camo like dark matter and it is animated. So huge W there.
Mm-hmm. That is a
Love
W.
animated camos.
Yep. I wonder. Oh, I wonder if it like changes colors.
I don't know if it
If,
changes colors or if like the camo itself just kind of moves around.
mm-hmm.
But either way, I hope the grind isn't like insane because I have done like I did dark matter in Black Ops 3 and 4 and two games I really love. So hoping this game's really good and if I get the time I can try to grind as much towards it as I can because it looks really cool. And then for you zombies folks, you also have mastery camos, which is cool. The MW2 weapons have mastery camos, which I plan to not do at all.
Yep.
I do not plan to do the MW2 guns because I don't want to use them again, but some of them look pretty cool. I just saw this one, Brock. I think you'll like this. Uh, I didn't see this tweet before, but Charlie Intel said Modern Warfare 3 will feature weekly challenges with rewards like weapons, aftermarket parts, and new camo. So who care? I don't really care much about the weapons and the aftermarket parts, but like I see one called Golden River camo, which is like a vibrant blue and yellow camo. So it looks like there are certain challenges you can do every week to unlock new camos, which I
Ooh,
think is kind of cool.
that is kind of cool. After the week's over, if you haven't done it, I wonder if you can still do it or not.
I'm assuming you can't because like here on like the screenshot it says weekly available during season 0. Next week unlocks in 10 days, 23 hours.
Oh yeah.
So I'm assuming you probably can't. I'm sure it's like a 7 days. Like I see the challenges here for multiplayer. You have to complete all 4 weekly challenges. And some of them don't look that hard. Like it's get 5 kills like with a weapon. Get 5 operators who killed you with a recommended weapon. Like they'll tell you whatever weapon to use. You have to get like 5 kills with it. 20 operator kills with a silencer. 10
Oh,
sliding kills, a triple kill with a sniper, 20 kills with a certain gun. Like they seem pretty easy.
yeah.
And you could
Okay.
just get a camo, and that'd be kind of cool. Like if a really cool camo pops up for you for the week, you could just unlock it. That'd be something kind of cool.
Yeah. The only thing, the one challenge I hate the most is the long shot medals.
Yeah, when you just gotta sit somewhere on the map, and you know those are gonna be in the game.
I know. It's so boring.
Yeah, I'm looking at the mastery camos too here, like for the MW3 weapons. Gold called gilded. It's whatever to me. A lot of people love gold. I even in like the OG games, besides like Black Ops 1 gold and like the first COD I played, I've never been that big of a fan of gold.
Mhm.
But it's whatever. It's gold camo. Then there's forge, which to me kind of again is kind of whatever. I don't know if you're looking at the screenshots right now, but it's just like a silver camo. It's like the diamond of this game. I think it's kind of
Yep.
whatever.
I see it.
Then this priceless camo is animated. It's the like the third tier. That one looks pretty cool to me. It's like
Yeah.
a bright blue and pink, and apparently it's animated. So that one's cool. And then like the final one, the Interstellar, I think is very cool because it obviously reminds me of Dark Matter, which is clearly what they were going for.
Yeah. I like the Interstellar one a lot, actually.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the priceless one because like I said, I just like bright colors.
Yep. Man,
So
man.
cool
Beautiful.
camos overall a W. Obviously, we got to get in the game and see them and see how probably impossible they are to get. But overall, animated camos, bright colors, W for the game. I would say.
Overall, for now, until we see all the challenges, excited for now.
Yeah. All right. Jacob Hill posed an interesting question on Twitter, and he basically said that it shouldn't be allowed for franchises to keep turning down events and refusing to host in their home city. Like, I want to know your thoughts on this because I have a pretty strong opinion on whether I agree or disagree with it. He basically was like, yeah, like there's certain franchises, like I'm trying to think of like a good example right away, but like because like Toronto's hosted, New York has, OpTic has, it landed it early, but like hasn't since.
Hmm.
Like LA's refused for a while now. Who's a team? I'm just like, am I missing one? Like Seattle, did Seattle host? No, they hosted Halo. They haven't hosted any COD.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's an interesting debate because like I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think that these franchises should be allowed to just keep saying no and turning down events and just never hosting one in their home city?
I feel like for me, the only reason that they should be able to turn it down is because they can't financially like support it.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like you bought into this league, you should ideally have the resources to at least be able to host one event or the
Yeah,
league help you out.
you
I
would
just
think.
like I get not doing it every year. Like what Toronto's doing, I'm sure is expensive, and I know they're losing money on it. Like I would have to believe, like hosting one every year and like OpTic kind of hosting one every year. But like for these teams like Seattle who still have yet to host a major and they've been in the league since the beginning, or like Miami, they're finally hosting one for the first time. Now they got new ownership. Atlanta hasn't hosted one since MW19. Like I feel like maybe there should be a requirement that like at least every 3 years or 4 years, whatever, you have to just host one major. Because
Yeah,
like he said, like it's unfair to the even the fans in these cities, like that you're just like refusing to host majors. Like how are you supposed to activate the local fan base and stuff and like create hype around your team when you just never have that home event? Like we saw the Minnesota home event, craziest esports event I've ever been to. Like the fans showed out. Clearly, were cheering for Minnesota over OpTic, which probably no team's like ever been cheered for over OpTic since nade shot's been a thing, basically.
yeah,
And Minnesota fans far and away cheer louder for Minnesota than they were for OpTic.
yeah,
I just like that's the whole point of this, like the city-based franchises, is to travel to all these different cities and host all these tournaments. So, I mean, if you got in the league to just skid by and not shell out any money for events, just makes no sense to me. I strongly think that these teams should at least every few years have to host events in their home city.
yeah. I guess like you said, at least like host one every 3 years.
Every 3 or 4 years, all you got to do.
Yeah, that seems a lot more, doable for these,
Well, because
teams that don't want to.
well, yeah, and we also know that every team can't host one every year because we don't have 12 majors. So, like,
Yeah,
you're going to be safe. You're not going to have to host one every year. Just to shell out that money every few years. Which, if you're in the league, you should be willing to just host one event every 4 years or something, just to keep things up for your city and keep them interested.
Mm.
I guess like one thing we didn't mention when we were talking about that is some people are upset because like the geographic locations of all these events. I know we've got a lot of UK listeners, I'm sure. I mean, you guys are better with your geography than we are over here, but for anybody keeping track of where these events are, obviously Charlotte on the East Coast, Miami pretty much, like an East Coast city. Dallas, not East Coast, but more central US, if that's in fact where Champs actually is. Obviously southern US, but pretty much in the center of it. Toronto, obviously more towards the eastern part of the US, over there in Canada, and then Boston on the East Coast as well. So people are a little upset for our West Coast people. I'll say I don't ever feel bad as somebody from the Midwest. I know you'll have the same sentiment. I don't ever feel bad for people that are like, oh, like the locations for it suck. Like, welcome to our life as people from the Midwest. Everything happens for these events on the East Coast and the West Coast. So like the West Coast people that are complaining, like, sure, I guess it does suck that you have to travel across the country, but like, welcome to Brock and I's life. For all these events ever, we have to travel very far. That's why we were
Yep.
so excited for a Minnesota event back in the day.
Yeah, that was close. Excited for that.
Like that's the closest we get is a 7-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
So like the people that are complaining, I'm kind of half joking. Like I get if you're a person from California that loves COD events, it does suck that you have to travel to at minimum like Texas, or if you don't want to go to Champs, you want to save a little money, you want to go to one of the other events. It does suck that you have to literally travel across the country to go to an event.
Yeah.
But I have a little bit less sympathy as somebody from Wisconsin. We don't ever get events here. So like when we had the Minnesota event, it was awesome. Like I mean, Brock and I had to fly across the country to Vegas
Yep.
just to go to Champs. Like we always have to fly somewhere.
Yeah. And we got the Madison, Minnesota, like 1 day thing.
Yeah, which was cool to be able to drive. I mean, for us, a couple hours to Madison was pretty cool, but like still, it does suck for you West Coast people that you do have to, fly across the country. But you know what else sucks? The EU people. How about the people in Europe who can't even get an event in their continent,
I know.
let alone their country?
Mm-hmm. I feel for them.
Yeah, especially now that there's no franchises left over there. Although maybe they could one day, like Miami, being a Spanish-based org, could convince the CDL to let them host an event. Like there was like a rumor there could be one in Madrid which would be super cool for the people over in Europe.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, even if you're not from Spain, Madrid, a lot closer trip from the UK than it is coming to the US.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last thing. This is kind of a weird thing to end on, but I saw it and it's one of your guys, so I thought you'd want to talk about it. Donnie Temp announced his Challengers team, which includes him, Fellow, Neptune, and Two Real. So, I mean, first thing, kind of weird that Donnie is in Challengers, obviously, but thoughts on his Challengers team? It sounds pretty good to me.
I mean, Fellow, pretty good in the league last year. Neptune's like a challenger warrior, it seems like.
Yeah, he's a Challengers Reaper.
Yeah. And then, Two Real, he's pretty good. I like the squad so far.
Yeah, and a little experience. I think Two Real and Fellow played together.
Yep.
I know, obviously, Two Real and Donnie did on Vegas last year.
Yep. And just kind of weird seeing Donnie, is in challenges after a good year last year.
Seems like he could be a potential player though that will pop off a little bit, at least individual numbers wise, and then maybe there'll be a couple ARs in the league that are struggling a bit post Major 1. And Donnie seems like I would think he'll be one of the early potential pickups for struggling ARs, because as much as we don't think like, oh, this player's got potential, this player's got potential, happens every year. There's going to be some teams that are really struggling and just aren't working out.
Mm-hmm.
So Donnie probably going to be a prime candidate, and especially once again, 4 majors, shortened season. Majors being worth more, teams are probably going to be less hesitant to pull the trigger and just make changes when they have to, because shorter season and like we said, land counts are more, and you're maybe more willing to try different stuff online because it's weighted a little bit less this year.
Yeah, I would say so.
And as weird as it sounds, because he's in Challengers, saying he has a better reputation is weird since he's in Challengers to start this year, unlike he has been in the past. But I do think Donnie's reputation as a player and teammate has been significantly boosted.
Mm-hmm.
In the past year or two, I feel like people see him much more as level-headed. Before, he was seen kind of as maybe a little bit emotional at times, a little hot-headed at times, a little bit stubborn, but people maybe didn't view him as a good teammate. But I think the perception on Donnie has changed a lot. I think he's matured a ton.
Yeah.
So I don't think that'll be a barrier for him either.
Yeah. Donnie has came a long way.
Yeah. He also, I mean, I mentioned a little bit, but this team seems very good. Fellow is a very good AR. Like you said, Neptune has been seemingly struggles when he gets in the league, but challengers wise, seems like he's always placing pretty consistently high. And then Two Real, also another player that seems to do pretty consistently well in challengers. And like you mentioned, also looked much better when he got some time in the league last year.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot better than his Florida stint.
Yeah, his Florida stint was very rough. Looked like he should never see the league stage again. And then his Vegas stint, while it wasn't amazing, was pretty solid. I mean, it led him to Vegas' best placement on land for the year when he was on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. That's about all we got. I just wanted to mention Donnie's Challenger team pretty quick. Nothing else, though. And I mean, our next episode, Brock, will feature us at least being able to talk about playing pubs on the game at least a little bit. Maybe we'll hop into a S&D GB at some point on the weekend just to play one and talk about our experience in a competitive match.
Yeah. Excited to play the game.
It's about time. Couple other games I like to play here and there, like Valorant, but nothing really for me scratches the itch of being able to play a game like Call of Duty does. It's always been my game for 10 plus years now.
Yeah, nothing for me like Call of Duty. It's the same like COD.
Yeah, it's just a game that I've played for so long. It feels so much more natural. So I'm excited to play, but got nothing else if you're ready to wrap it up.
Nope, got nothing else.
All right. That's going to do it for this one. The final episode before MW3 releases. So if you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop that follow, drop that 5-star review. We appreciate all your support as always. We've made it, guys. The next time Brock and I are on the mic talking to you, we won't be in the CDL season yet. We'll say we made it again in about a month when the matches are here. But we can say there's really, I mean, now that I think about it, shoot, after this one, there's 1, 2, 3 more episodes after this one. Until the 4th episode from now, we'll be talking about our predictions for qualifier matches. Yep. So we're done with episodes before MW3 is out. We have 3 where we'll just probably be talking about the game and scrims. And then 4 episodes from now, we will be right in the swing of things, talking about the Call of Duty season, making predictions, reacting to matches, which, I mean, as you guys can imagine, for us, makes the podcast so much easier to talk about, and just like the stories write themselves. We're just talking about the Call of Duty season, which is much easier than what we've done for the past 5 months, which is just trying to make up stories and content weekly, because it gets dry out here. So excited for the season to kick off and MW3 to come out. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.